Hello everyone, this is Jay, and welcome to my channel. This video is the second entry in a new series I'm currently working on this channel, where I'm documenting all of my creative work in order to not only give you a behind the scenes look as to how I operate, but also hopefully give you new ideas and inspiration yourself if you are also creative. Today we're going to be diving into Aurum Revenant, the name of not just my YouTube channel, but also the brand that acts as the umbrella for which all of my creative work falls under. I will get into how I came up with the idea for this brand, why I created it, the meaning behind the name Aurum Revenant, what sort of projects I will create underneath this brand, and more. So, with that out of the way, let's explore. As a creative, I work on a lot of stuff. I do writing, photography, artwork design, YouTube, I used to do acting, and I'm currently learning how to sing. I've been creative most of my life, however, only now have I just begun putting all of my creative work out into the world. I decided I wanted to do this all under a personal brand or umbrella of sorts, which resulted in the creation of Aurum Revenant. But you might be wondering why I decided to do this, why I wanted all of my creative work to fall under a brand. Well, the main reason behind that was because prior to creating Aurum Revenant, it was quite difficult for people to look me up just by using my regular name. For those who might not be aware, there's actually a fictional character out there who shares the same name as me, the protagonist of Marble Hornets, a popular web series based on Slender Man. Every time you tried googling me online, it was almost impossible to find me or my creative work, because instead, all that turned up was Marble Hornets, especially when it came to my photography work, because I sell prints of my photography through Redbubble, and every time somebody tried to look me up through Redbubble, they would only be able to find Marble Hornets fan art. There was also another issue. I'm a writer who's written a lot of novels, and as of the making of this video, I'm currently in the process of self-publishing my first one. And as it just so happens, there is another author out there who shares the same name as me. Fortunately, the other Jaymerrick wrote only one novel. I mainly write fantasy and sci-fi, so I doubt anybody would confuse us. But having another author out there named Jaymerrick still made things tricky for me. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why didn't I just come up with another name for myself, whether that be a pen name, alias, or something like that? Well, you see, before I found out about Marble Hornets and that other author, I had already done a few acting jobs under the name Jaymerrick, and also some photography. At the time, I was advised by other actors I knew that if you have already started building a CV under a certain name, then you should stick with it. Changing it wasn't a good idea. So basically I figured, well, too late to adopt an alias now. I have to stick with my actual name. Even though I don't really do acting anymore, I'm still leaving the door open in case I decide I ever want to pick it back up again sometime. So I started thinking to myself, okay, so how do I retain the name Jaymerrick while also making it easier for people to Google me or find my work? The solution I came up with was to create a brand for all of my creative projects to fall under. That way, instead of Googling my name, people can just Google the name of my brand, and with that, the conceptualization of Aurum Revenant began. Now, after I came up with that idea, I found myself facing a new problem. What should my brand even be called? The whole point of me adopting this brand in the first place was so that I could have the opportunity to come up with something that was so unique that you could easily Google it. So, I needed to find a name that hadn't been taken by anyone else. Sounds simple, right? Well, not exactly, because literally 99% of all of my ideas for a name were taken. I really struggled to come up with something unique that resonated with me or I thought was good enough. Eventually I decided that whatever it was I came up with, I wanted to incorporate the word Revenant. For the past few years prior, I used the word Revenant as a username online, particularly when it came to online gaming, so as a result I felt quite attached to the word and I really wanted to incorporate it into my brand's name. Plus, I really liked the meaning behind the word Revenant, where it refers to one who has either returned from the dead or after a long absence, which is very metaphorical when it comes to a lot of the stories and characters that I personally enjoy writing. I decided that I wanted the name of my brand to incorporate 2 words in total, including Revenant. The only problem was that I needed to figure out what the second word should be, and once again, 99% of all of my ideas were taken. Eventually, I found a name that I really liked, Silver Revenant. Silver is one of my favorite colors, so I figured Silver Revenant would be pretty fitting, plus it sounded kinda cool. Unfortunately, as you've probably already guessed, that too was taken. At that point I was pretty stuck. I had no idea what the name was going to be, and my favorite name out of all of them just so happened to be taken. But the word silver did get my creative juices flowing, and eventually I came to the realization, well, what's better than silver? Gold. Gold is another favorite color of mine, mainly due to the Deus Ex games, which I'm a huge fan of, which often incorporate a gold and black color scheme. So I decided that gold would be a very fitting word to use. However, the name Gold Revenant didn't really roll off the tongue as well as I wanted to, and it didn't sound as slick and cool as Silver Revenant did. At that point, I decided it might be best to look up other words or synonyms for gold, and eventually I found out that the Latin word for gold was aurum. So, there you had it. I finally had a name, Aurum Revenant. Not only did I really like the start of that name, but more importantly, the name wasn't taken. And with that, the rest is history. In the end, I feel like Aurum Revenant was the best name possible for my brand. Like I mentioned before, I was initially drawn to the word Revenant due to its relevance to all of the stories that I've written over the years. When I decided to incorporate a variation of the word gold into my brand's name, I used that as an opportunity to add on to the meaning of my brand's name and further increase its relevance to my stories. As written on my website, the name Aurum Revenant symbolizes rebirth after a lengthy period of darkness, shedding your former self in order to become something greater. The gold represents that something greater, symbolizing prosperity, fortune, and success, creating a brighter, more striking future for oneself. As for the word revenant, it represents one who has returned from a crucible of personal darkness they've undergone, experiencing a period of transformation and rebirth, finally entering into the light as their final form. This was a meaning that personally resonated with me, not just because it felt relevant to my past as an individual, but also matched the themes that I explore in my writing work. I also decided to use my wolf emblem design that I created back in 2016 as the logo for Aurum Revenant, because wolves are symbolic of rebirth and creation. Also, I personally view wolves as symbols of community, family, and friendship, which are also themes that are explored in my work. Now, if you haven't watched my previous video yet about my wolf emblem and are interested in learning more about how and why it was created, then feel free to check it out through the card on your screen right now or in the pinned comment down below. From that moment onwards, Aurum Revenant became a part of my creative identity moving forward. I started up an art shop underneath this name, I started creating YouTube videos under this name, I created social media accounts using this name, and there's still more projects to come that I will be creating under this name in the future. And there you have it. That's the story behind the Aurum Revenant name. The brand is still in its infancy, but the goal is to have as many creative projects of mine as possible underneath the Aurum Revenant umbrella within the next 2 years. My Aurum Revenant art shop and YouTube channel are just the first of many. I also have a lot of novels that will be coming out soon, and even though I will be publishing them under my actual name, they will still be a part of the Aurum Revenant brand as a whole. With that, I'm going to leave the video here. I hope you found this video entertaining, informative, or maybe it gave you some ideas for your own creative work. I plan on making more videos like this in the future, dive into the histories behind all of my creative work, share what I'm currently working on, and just overall give you a behind the scenes look as to how I operate. So if that interests you, or if any of the other types of content I create in this channel interests you, then feel free to subscribe, and I hope to see you again in the next video.